husky.
Good morning, it's another day, my friend. But soon the sunshine turns to moonlight, life goes You take some time to say goodnight, you close your eyes to dream next thing tomorrow's here.
It's a brand new day, never hold on to hate. Cause you was placed here to be great. Please take your place. All queens got a seat at my table. Cause without y'all, then the man ain't able. Melanated queen, connected to the universe. And so I gotta thank my mom for my birth. If hate is the curse, then love is the remedy. So I send you love no matter creed or identity. Until infinity, look at you like you kin to me. Even when we disagree, yo, you still kin to me. In other words, I can't bring you no trouble, can't bring you no beef, don't wanna see you deceased. Now if I'm coming at you, I'm coming with a business plan. Cause every day I'm on some, yo, let's get this money, man. Yeah, and that's my real plans. I rest my head at night, I wake up, I got another plan.
Good morning, it's another day, my friend. But soon the sunshine turns to moonlight, life goes Say goodnight, you close your eyes to dream next thing tomorrow's here again.
It's a lot of high rappers tell me why we don't get money together, but we'll kill each other over whatever. Running down the freeway, we gonna own down. If Black Lives Matter, why we gonna own down? That's why they laugh and they think that we clowns. They hear what we say, but see how we get down. We gotta change that now, right now to be exact. Cause hurting that man's moms is not where it's at now. Old school, new school need to learn, yo. They put us in groups so they can make more dough. The young versus the old versus the young. Black versus white, you see the pattern, right? No unity, keep them all on some gutter-ish. This way they don't prosper and get rich. Yo, can't you see it's a trick? Just open your third eye and you'll see the full view of it. Now yo, what if the powers that be know that the real power lies within the people? That's us. And what if they using things like crayon colors, black and white, to separate the people? Hey, yo, you gotta wake up. Don't let them fool y'all. Spread love.
Good morning, it's another day, my friend. But soon the sunshine turns to moonlight, life goes You take some time to say goodnight, you close your eyes to dream next thing tomorrow's. Good morning, it's another day, my friend. But soon the sunshine turns to moonlight, life goes You take some time to say goodnight, you close your eyes to dream next thing tomorrow's here again. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning.
All right, y'all, good morning. You know what to do. It's that time. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can see me. We're gonna go ahead and get into it. It's spooky season, and happy Halloween to everybody who's in the building. And I know y'all probably can't tell, but I am wearing a costume. All right, I'm a YouTuber. That is my costume today. Welcome, y'all. Welcome back to another YouTube live stream. Happy Halloween and another episode of the Music Morning Show. I'm your host, ClassE Beats of ClassEbeats.com. Today we are getting back into the YSL trial. Well, maybe. We'll see. Shout out to everybody who's in the building, man. I gotta say what's up to the people and show y'all some love and appreciation for being here. Of course, the awesome, amazing Amy is here in the building, reminding y'all to like the video. We've got Andrea's up in here, Turquoise Tiger. Oh my gosh, with the tongue twister. We've got Adam NYC is in the building. Landis Mobile's in here. Rodney Ladeau is in the building. We've got Gigi. Good morning, Gigi. Good to see you. Stephanie's in here. Jay Buckmaster, Michi. We've got Eldoray. I'm probably saying that wrong. Sheila's in here. Krisha, Valencia. We've got Belfast, B Mac. Mr. Brown is up in here. Aphis, Nicholas. We've got Ray Fields. FS is in the building. Okay, shout out to you. JB is in here giving us an update as well. Says, phew. Good morning, Classy Beats, Amy, Rice Street, and the entire CEB love is love gang. Here we go. I was number 7 this morning. I appreciate you. Chef Doug said court should start about 9:30. He doesn't know if the jury will be in. Well, yeah, we're gonna see what happens. You never know. We've got Fatima is in the building. Shout out to Fatima. Oh, Rice Street is up in here too. What's up, Rice Street? Mark H is in the building. We've got Deborah. Who else is in here? Dang, I see a bunch of y'all. Ann is in the building too. Annie is up in here. TM's in the building. Focus on you. Good to see you. And then we've got a couple of y'all dropping some super chats in here as well. I'm going to be saying good morning to you all throughout the show. Thank you to everybody who stopped by and typed good morning in the chat. If you could do me one favor before we get started with the show, if you could like the video, it would super help us out a lot. Not only are likes free, but it does let the YouTube algorithm know that you guys are enjoying the show, and it shares the video with more people. All right, so it's great for engagement. It really helps us to continue to grow and do what we're doing here. Y'all just got us to over 71,000 subscribers this week. Thank you to everybody who's supporting, and not only supporting this channel, but we have so many other content creators that stop by and support the channel as well. Cat Not Williams. We also have Miss Hall was over here as well. We watched a video from her, and she was at 200 subscribers once we started the live stream. By the end of the live stream that evening, she was almost at 900 subscribers. So y'all did that, and we love showing love to all the content creators out here as well. So we're gonna go ahead and get into it in a minute, but before I do that, let me see what's going on. So I'm gonna double check and see what's going on with court, because again, there's lots of rumors going on when there's so much uncertainty. And from what I'm seeing, the live feeds have not started yet, which is a good thing, because we missed out on, well, on this channel, we missed out on the coverage from yesterday afternoon. Judge Whitaker ended up going into court late yesterday afternoon, and there were 2 plea deals that were entered. We're going to get into those in a second. I've got the indictment pulled up as well, so that way we can go back just like we did with the other plea deals that were signed from Mr. Nichols, and look at exactly what they, I don't want to say got off, but exactly what they were facing when it comes to indictments and charges on that. So let's go ahead. We're going to do a little bit of a rewind and go back to yesterday afternoon. But before I do that, I want to give a big shout out to Sapphire Ridge News. He became a new member. Thank you so much. And then we've got Jamie in here as well, gifted a membership. If you got that membership from Jamie, make sure you say thank you and show Jamie some love. What else? Lauren said Doug Weinstein said he doesn't expect to see media or public in this morning. Yep, that could definitely be possible. We'll have to wait and see. Who else? Let's see. Shout out to Rich Life Blueprint in the building. He says, good morning. The judge requested that the attorneys be there at 9, but court will start at 11 a.m. Okay. I wonder if Law and Crime has any updates there too. Let me see. I'll keep looking and double checking and making sure. But like I said, we still have a lot that we can cover from yesterday's court proceedings because we missed it. Shout out to Alex Moreland in here. It says, hey, Classy Beats newbie here. Thanks for the coverage. Thank you for being here, Alex. I appreciate you. Unknown is in the building as well. Unknown. Where have I seen you before? I think I've seen you on another channel. But it says, we appreciate you because your feed doesn't allow foul language and you treat all with decency. Yeah, I mean, hey, I have learned that it is best to treat other people the way you would like to be treated. So I really thank y'all and appreciate every single one of you who choose to spend your time here watching this show and contributing to the channel. So thank you for being here. Let's see. Shout out to Luca is in here, says court resuming today. Yes, I know for sure court is resuming. We just don't know when we'll be able to see it, but we have some other things we can go over. My dog Sean P is in the building as well. Y'all give it up for Sean P. CEB gang for life. You know what time it is. He says Whitaker doesn't want to continue and don't want to give prejudice. They got 3 now. They're going to fix more. Oh man. Yeah, she's got a long way to go. because as we talked about yesterday, I don't see these three guys getting favorable plea deals, especially Young Thug. I mean, Lord. What else do we have? I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Rose says you want to read the indictments for the remaining three. That's actually a great way to start today. And then we'll watch the coverage from yesterday. So I appreciate that. And I always love hearing y'all's feedback and thoughts too. I mean, this is a community run show. So let's go ahead and pull up this indictment and let's see what the remaining three are looking at. Let's start with Yak Gotti. Where is Mr. Kendrick? Diamante Kendrick. Interesting. Only counts 1 and 2. All right. So what are counts 1 and 2? Obviously, we know the conspiracy to violate the Racketeering, Influence, and Corrupt Organizations Act. Obviously, the RICO Act. And the big one. What is number 2? Murder. And I talked about this yesterday. I was actually watching some of this coverage on Cat Not Williams' channel yesterday. And I asked her, I said, is the remaining murder charge really going to weigh heavily on Yak Gotti? Because even if you look at Shannon, yeah, he has a couple of things he was involved in, especially when it comes to Chamel drinks. But that murder charge, that is the big deal. And it is really kind of the one thing that's hanging over the head of this entire trial. So I want to go and look at Shannon Stillwell. He's got count 1, 2, 49, 50, 51, 52, 54. Oh my gosh. I said 59, 49. And what are those? 49, 50, 51, 52. Let's see. 49. We've got murder. 50, participation in criminal street gang activity. Obviously, participation in criminal street gang activity. Again, we got 52, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, previously convicted of a felony involving the use or possession of a firearm. 54, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. All right. And then where is Jeffrey Williams right there? They've got him on count 1, which is obviously violating the RICO Act. And then we've got count 56. Oh, FFS is in here. Good morning, FFS. We've got participation in criminal street gang activity. So really not, as we know, a lot on Young Thug.
And so what we have ultimately is that there is no evidence, none.
But Shannon Stillwell and Mr. Kendrick, they are the big dogs in this one. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Let's go through this real quick. And I want to see Yak Gotti's murder charge, actually. How should I look this up? We're going to go by Kendrick. So let's see what Mr. Kendrick has and what does the state have on Mr. Kendrick? Obviously, count 1. So Javarius Bradford, Justin Cobb, Diamante Kendrick, Demise McMullen, and Shannon Stillwell. All 3 of them. This is the big one. Associates of YSL did unlawfully and with malice aforethought commit the felony offense of murder by causing the death of Donovan Thomas Jr., a human being, by shooting Donovan Thomas Jr. with the firearm in violation of Georgia law pursuant. I mean, it's basically common sense law. And also, it's an act of racketeering activity under 1614(3) and an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. No good. We've even got them on attempted murder, both of them. So 2 out of the 3 remaining defendants are looking at attempted murder charges. Now, from what y'all have seen and what we've seen over the past couple of days, the state has no problem dropping murder charges, which was shocking to me. But the more weight you take off a murder charge from one defendant, you've got to put that weight onto another defendant. So looking at this, Diamante Kendrick and Shannon Stillwell are the only ones left that the state could possibly pin this murder on. Question is, do they have the most evidence on these 2? When it comes to even Yak Gotti, I mean, we saw him at the gas station, but we really haven't seen too much else. So what evidence does the state have to show that these two were mainly involved in that? We still have to see. Appreciate you, FFS. And then defendants, of course, Javarius Bradford, Justin Cobb, Diamante Kendrick, Demise McMullen, and Shannon Stillwell, associates of YSL, did unlawfully and with malice aforethought and with the intent to kill commit the felony offense of attempted murder upon persons of Reginald Hendricks by shooting Reginald Hendricks with a firearm in violation of a pretty much common sense law. You can't be out here shooting people or attempting to kill people. And of course, that's covered under the RICO. We've got another one. Jeez, man.
Another one.
These same guys, namely Diamante Kendrick and Shannon Stillwell, associates of YSL, did unlawfully and with malice aforethought and with the intent to kill commit the felony of offense of attempted murder upon the persons Cordarius Sanders by shooting Cordarius Sanders with a firearm in violation of 16401. And then we've got participation in criminal street gang activity while associated with the criminal street gang YSL. Participated in criminal street gang activity through the commission of at least one of the offenses enumerated in paragraph 1, which we read before. Also, murder and attempted murder acts involving violence and possession or use of a weapon in violation of 16551. All right, and then we've got him on 56, right? 56 was conspiracy to commit murder. Oh my gosh. By driving to the territory of a rival gang with the intent to cause the death of another human being in retaliation for a prior shooting by the rival gang, while armed with the AK-47 assault rifle, a 40 caliber handgun in violation of Georgia law 16448. Of course, that falls under the RICO charge, and it's an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. What else do we have? Theft by receiving. That's an easy one, man. That's an easy one. They get so many guys on that theft by receiving. What else do we have here? So we got 57, theft by receiving again. Okay, we just saw that one. It just jumped us back up. We've got 59, participation in criminal street gang activity. We've got what was Wooney Lee and Diamante Kendrick doing? Associates of YSL posted a video on social media titled Mob Ties. Defendants were flashing gang signs with lyrics stating, "And we ride round with guns probably big as us. And we be on some Tupac-ish, hit 'em up. Ninja play with Umfolk and get hogtied. Ninja play with Umfolk, then they all die." Oof. Talk about knocking off your big homie, even his small fry. Why would I lie? Old murder never switching up. You say you ninjas gangsters. You ain't did enough. Spin the block a couple times, think they did enough. Hail Mary Tupac-ish, I'm about to hit him up. Hey, I'm starting to kiss the beat. Now I'm about to, all right, I'm gonna relax. Even ninja around me wicked. Every ninja around me wicked. Like, why would I lie? Slime ball ninja, like, yeah. I want to hear this song now, even though it's absolutely horrible. Why would I lie? I got mob ties. Tell them spin a bend. They send shots flying. Knocking off your big homie, bish. And overact in furtherance of the conspiracy. Yeesh. Defendant Martinez Arnold. All right, we're going to talk about Mr. Arnold here in the next coming weeks because, well, we won't get into that. But either way, Diamante Kendrick and associates of YSL did pose for a photo released on social media wearing a shirt with Arnold wearing clothing with the word slime on the front with the caption, "Roll down the window, he running like Ricey." An overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Yeah, y'all want me to start freestyling? I'm not about to start freestyling. This is one that Detective Dennis got in trouble for, and we saw this picture in court, and it actually got Detective Dennis kicked out of court, and he ain't coming back. Defendant Diamante Kendrick, an associate of YSL, did pose for a photo released on social media standing on the vehicle of Rayshawn Bennett, aka YFN Lucci. Rayshawn Bennett being the leader of a rival street gang, an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Okay, intimidation. Diamante Kendrick, Sergio Kitchens, and Jeffrey Williams. So we got Young Thug and Yak Gotti in here. Associates of YSL appeared in the video released on social media titled Take It to Trial. We all know about this one. Brian Steele loves bringing it up, with the lyrics stating, take that ish to MF in trial. For slimes, you know I kill. Trial, I done beat it twice. State, I'm defeated like feds came and snatched me. I don't know, no point in asking. I was on Cleveland, stuck like a magnet. I'm not even reading that line. I shoot at your mammy. Need to stand down. I'm up in my I up my stamina. Take it to trial. Get in the appeal. Take it to trial. Yeah, you gonna whack him. Pay for the casket. Pay for the casket. That's just if we whack him. If we whack him. My young ninjas pulling up Bentleys, Aston Martins, Raris, and Teslas strapped with a FN Choppa's carbons. YSL slimy and shady. That's a good line actually. Watch me whack that bitch. Pop him like assist. Glock with the assist. An overt act in the furtherance of the conspiracy. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Raymond said my man's dropping bars in the air. Yeah. I know that I hate that the lyrics were brought in, but it is kind of fun to read them. I'm not going to lie. Defendants Diamante Kendrick, an associate of YSL, did pose for a photo released on social media wearing a red bandana and a YSL pendant, an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Defendant Diamante Kendrick and Wooney Lee, associates of YSL, did pose for a photo released on social media with Kendrick flashing a YSL gang hand sign, while Lee wearing clothing with the lettering Keep America Slime, SLAT. We know that stands for self-love all the time. Make America Slime, an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Okay, and then there's a few more evidence that we'll get into, but the defendant Diamante Kendrick, an associate of YSL, did pose for a photo released on social media wearing a red bandana YSL pendant. Okay, we already got that one. We got that one. Defendant Diamante Kendrick, an associate of YSL, did pose for a photo released on social media. So we've got social media and we've got lyrics. A little bit of intimidation, maybe it seems like. I don't know. Did pose for a photo released on social media holding a red colored hat with a photo of a rat crossed out. Oh, dang. With the caption YSL, an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Jeez. Defendant Diamante Kendrick, an associate of YSL, did pose for a photo. Stop posing for photos, y'all. Wearing a red bandana, standing in front of a spray painted fence with the word self-love all the time, aka SLAT. It doesn't stand for slime love. It stands for self-love all the time. Y'all know. An overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. We're almost through all these. This is count 2 that they got. They got Yak Gotti on. And in count 2, we have all of them for murder, which we went through. We've got all of them for attempted murder. So kind of restating everything that was mentioned in count 1. And this is why Bruce Harvey, when he was here, was trying to make sure that there was he wanted to make sure that he was able to distinguish all the counts in count 1 versus everything that was going on with the RICO charge, which is a really weird position to be in because everybody's under count 1 and all these things happen under count 1. But just because you're mentioned in count 1 doesn't necessarily mean you're being held or you're being indicted for attempted murder or murder. So Bruce Harvey made a really big push to ensure that the jury understood that. And I'm sure they did. Shout out to Mark H. He says classy love all the time. Oh my gosh. I don't know. That one sounds like something else. Maybe we could just say we can pronounce the C as slat instead of with the short C sound. Yeah, so we'll call it SLAT. Classy love all the time. I like that, Mark. That was dope. Let me see. We got a couple other super chats. I think I missed it here too. Shout out to Nick in the building. He says good morning. He's been a member for 2 months. Shout out to Nick. We've got Star Wars Iron Giant gifted a membership. If you got that membership from Star Wars Iron Giant, make sure you say thank you. Also, Nick came into the chat, showed some love, and dropped the 2-bomb as well. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate it. I'll be reading super chats throughout the show as well. Let's go ahead and get into the coverage from yesterday afternoon. I just want to double check and make sure that we're not live for trial. We are not. Oh man, Shaw P says we don't use the C, classy. It's blasty bleach. Yeah, we got to use the B. We got to use the B. So it's black. I can't control the phonetics. I know, Mark. It's not your fault. Mr. Frieza's in the building. I appreciate you. Who else? Oh, we got Stop the Cap is in here a while. Who else did I see? I want to make sure I didn't miss any of y'all's comments. Yeah, Sean P said it. You can't wear clothes and you cannot take pictures. That is a clear RICO violation. All right, we're going to do a little bit of a rewind, y'all. And we're going to go back to everything that went down in court yesterday afternoon. So if you missed it, you're in for a treat. If you already saw this, well, I think we're going to point out and maybe observe some things that you might not have seen or noticed. So here we go. Let's get into it. And I will get the volume right for y'all as well.
Superior Court for the county is now in session. Honorable Judge Paige Reese Whitaker presiding. Court come to order.
Good afternoon. So I understand we have a few pleas to be tendered. And are we going to do them at the same time or separately? Separately. All right. Are you ready, Ms. Vossi?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And he's handling this for the state.
Your Honor, it'll be Simone Hilton for the state.
All right. Thank you.
Please tap in the microphone. Don't do that.
All right, Ms. Ryan.
No.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Are y'all, hold on a second. Are y'all saying it's too loud? How's the sound, y'all? Let me know. It should be good because I know the sound is kind of low sometimes. And good morning to everybody who's in here. Let me double check. Are y'all saying it's good? It's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. All right. There we go.
Up to the podium and then.
Simone Hilton for the state.
All right.
It's super loud.
All right, Ms. Ryan.
No.
Yeah, come up to the podium and then Sergeant Ingram, can you swear Mr. Ryan in?
Just stop and let me know, okay?
Raise your right hand. You swear the first testimony you give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Get your name and your name, spell first and last name.
Rodalius Ryan, Rodalius Ryan, Ryan.
And Mr. Ryan, are you the same person referred to as Rodalius Ryan on indictment number 22SC 183572?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you at this time under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medicine?
No, ma'am.
How old are you?
Currently 20 years old.
And how far did you go in school?
12th grade.
20
Are you
years
able to
old.
read, write, and understand the English language?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you are charged in this indictment with count 1, conspiracy to violate the Racketeer, Influence, and Corrupt Organization Act, which carries a sentence of 5 to 20 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you have the right to plead either guilty or not guilty to these charges?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you plead not guilty or remain silent, you may receive a jury trial.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had an opportunity to go over this plea of guilty and waiver of rights form with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you and your attorney both reviewed it and you signed this document?
Yes, ma'am. That's my signature.
That's your signature?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had enough time to speak with your attorney, Ms. Leah Abbasi, about all of the facts and circumstances known to you regarding charges in this indictment?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you been able
Yeah,
to.
and they had to get Leah out of there because Leah was cooking them last week. Y'all remember that? Last week they brought that detective on the stand and she barbecued that man. So they had
Speak
to
with her
get her out
about
of
any potential defenses.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you need any more time to discuss this case with your attorney?
No.
Are you satisfied with her counsel and representation?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
You also
here's
had
some.
another attorney, Ms. Angela D. Williams. Are you satisfied with her counsel and representation?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you waive formal reading of the indictment?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you waive any defects, if any, with respect to the indictment?
No, ma'am. Could you repeat that for me?
Sure. Do you waive any and all defects in the indictment?
Yes.
And have you been arrested on these charges, specifically count 1, the conspiracy to violate the Racketeer, Influence, and Corrupt Organizations Act?
He was already in custody, so he was not taken into custody for these charges. However, he was booked for the charges in the Fulton County Jail.
And he was served with the arrest warrants on this?
Yes.
Look at Leah. She said, get it
Has
right.
Ms. Abbasi advised you of the minimum and maximum sentence for the charge that you are pleading to?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand this is a negotiated plea of guilty, which means that the state will recommend to the court a sentence of 10 years to serve, commuted to the time you have served in this case? Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you understand that this sentence should run concurrently with the sentence that you are already serving for 19 SC 168236? Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that the court does not have to accept this recommendation?
Yes, ma'am.
And the court can sentence you to the maximum on this charge?
I understand.
Do you understand that this plea may be used to enhance sentencing on other convictions in this jurisdiction as well as in other jurisdictions, including the federal courts?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand if you are not in the
Sorry,
United
one
States?
moment.
Yeah, Farmer says we like concurrent sentences.
Please repeat the question.
Sure.
Sure. Hey, we got it sure. Good morning, everyone.
Do you understand that the
Enhancing
convictions?
sentence, that one, the one on enhancing sentence?
Yes, I just needed to explain a bit more what that means.
Do you understand that this plea may be used to enhance sentencing on other convictions in this jurisdiction as well as in other jurisdictions, including the federal courts?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that if you are not a United States citizen, a guilty plea conviction will affect your immigration status and will result in deportation, just like a conviction at a trial would, and that this is true regardless of any advice by your attorney or anyone else?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that there may be other adverse or unfavorable consequences as a result of this guilty plea conviction, just as there would be from a conviction following a trial? For example, your guilty plea may affect your right to vote, your right to hold public office, your right to serve on a jury, your right to obtain a passport, your right to receive, possess, and transport a firearm, or the ability to obtain employment. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty to a felony, if you use, receive, possess, or transport a firearm, or use a firearm in a crime, you will be guilty of a felony, which may carry a sentence of 1 to 15 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you waive any and all defenses, including any mental health defenses, by entering a plea of guilty?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand if you went to trial, you have the right to a trial by jury, the right to see, hear, and confront witnesses called to testify against you, and the right to testify to remain silent and not incriminate yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you are giving up the following rights? And after I say each right, I'll ask you to respond, okay? The right.
And I can't remember who it was in the chat was asking about an enhanced sentence. An enhanced sentence just means a tougher punishment than usual for a crime. This happens when there are extra serious factors, like if the person has been convicted before. As some of y'all may know, Lil Rod is currently doing life. So there's that. used the weapon, or committed the crime as a part of a gang. Basically, it's a longer or stricter sentence because of the added risk or harm involved. And I'll be reading the super chat shortly. Thank you so much, Michi.
Right to trial by jury.
Yes.
The right to remain silent and not incriminate yourself.
Yes.
The right to confront witnesses against you.
Yes.
The right to assist of counsel hired by you or to court-appointed counsel if you cannot afford an attorney at the trial of your case.
Yes.
The right to the presumption of innocence.
Yes.
The right to testify on your own behalf and to present other evidence.
Yes, ma'am.
The right to subpoena witnesses and compel the production of evidence.
Yes, ma'am.
The right to have the charges against you proved beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yes.
And the right to appeal if convicted of these charges after trial.
Yes.
Has anyone forced, threatened, or promised you anything to get you to enter a guilty plea?
No, ma'am.
With respect to indictment 22 SC 183572, how do you plead to count 1, conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act?
Guilty.
Is this guilty plea freely and voluntarily given with a full knowledge of the charges against you?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you may have only a limited right to appeal this guilty plea conviction?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you have 4 years from today's date to file a habeas corpus petition challenging the voluntariness and constitutionality of this guilty plea?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you also understand that you have 30 days in which to appeal your conviction based on your plea today?
20.
Yes, ma'am.
And you also understand that you have until the end of this term of court to file a motion seeking to withdraw your guilty plea?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, if this case were to proceed and continue with trial, Your Honor, evidence has shown and will further show that Mr. Ryan conspired with others to participate in the Young Slime Life gang through a pattern of racketeering activity, and multiple defendants and unindicted co-conspirators have committed overt acts to further this conspiracy, including drug sales, aggravated assault, and murder, also including social media posts asserting the violent nature and dominance of Young Slime Life, aka YSL. Your Honor, the court has been present for evidence regarding the February 23rd, 2019 homicide of Mr. Jamari Holmes, in which Mr. Ryan and YSL co-conspirator, Damon Blaylock, lured both Jamari Holmes, Bernard Mitchell, and Rodney Uten to an apartment at 50 miles
Allegedly.
Zion Road, which is in the Cleveland Avenue area. The evidence came out that during the course of that incident that Mr. Ryan, along with Mr. Blaylock, emerged from the apartment complex shooting at the vehicle which Mr. Holmes, Mr. Uten, and Mr. Mitchell were in, shooting Mr. Holmes in the head. After this incident, a few hours later, Mr. Ryan is seen posting on social media, on a public social media post, saying that YSL makes the news. Around there has been other social media posts in which Mr. Ryan has promoted or enhanced the reputation of YSL. Your Honor, the state intended to show further evidence that once Mr. Ryan was convicted of the homicide of Mr. Holmes while in prison, he continued to enhance the reputation, power, and territory of YSL. Specifically, when YSL co-conspirator and co-defendant Christian Eppinger was given a bond for shooting at an Atlanta police officer, Mr. Ryan, while on a contraband phone in prison, posted on his social media account, he flashed the YSL sign and stated, "We're coming to get you. YSL shit, free my N-word brisk. F the DA, the gangway, we catching bonds on this shit." Your Honor, this is the evidence that the state would have intended to show if we would have continued with trial. Given the current status, Your Honor, we've made an offer to Mr. Ryan for this commuted to time served offers from our concurrent with his current conviction, Your Honor. And I can approach with the documentation.
You may.
I see, and I asked the poll in the chat, who is more likely to take a plea deal? Young Thug, SB, Yak Gotti, or none of the above? For those of you that say Young Thug, I really need y'all to help me see. And I know Kel Bell is in here. Some of our amazing resident attorneys are in the building. Y'all just look at it from the DA's perspective. What deal or what plea deal would you offer to Young Thug that he would most likely take? Because I'm just not seeing it. If Young Thug is really just hell bent on not having a felony, which I think would be smart in his case, they're getting everybody to plead to count one. But the ones who are pleading to it, either they don't have that much to lose if they do plead to a felony, or they're felons already. And please, Star Wars Iron Giant said time served. Let's be reasonable. As the DA, you're not going to offer the leader of a gang time served in a plea. It just doesn't make sense. Okay, here we go. Rico Brady says time served, admitting to count one. So you're saying the felony? Okay. Rico is the hardest charge to prove, actually. Yep. Yeah, I'm not seeing the plea deal for Young Thug. I'm not seeing it, but I could be wrong. Y'all let me know what you think.
And I wanted to just add one thing to the misty about the different methods you have to file things after this plea. And that is that Misty Williams and Miss Abbasi will represent you until either the end of this term of court or 30 days, whichever's later. And so they would be the ones to talk to about filing those things, unless either of them is permitted to withdraw before that time. They would be the ones to file those for you, okay?
The Honorable Attorney Kel Bell says, I don't practice criminal law, but I can't see how they could offer him anything that he would take. Me either, Kel. Giving him a good deal would be a total loss for them, in my opinion. I 1000% agree. But I mean, a lot of people are saying, oh, Thug's working out a deal. They're doing a deal with Thug.
Stop the cap.
I just can't see it. I'm not a lawyer again, and you have an attorney in the chat who, although doesn't practice criminal law, understands the law very well. And I can't see it. I cannot see it at all. But yeah, y'all let me know in the chat, because I'll be interested to hear what y'all are thinking, because you often see things a lot differently than I would, that maybe someone who's in the law as well. So just think about it from the DA's perspective. What possibly could they offer Young Thug that he would even consider?
No.
All right, Ms. Abbasi, is there anything that the defense wants to add to the record?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, I have had the honor really of representing Mr. Ryan along with Misty Williams, who I'm quite disappointed she could not be here today for an important day. This trial has been exhausting for everybody, and that certainly includes Mr. Ryan, who has been going through the court system since he was 15 years old. We categorically...
All right, I know I'm butchering this, but this is not true. And Dora said it herself. Hood Inc. says it's reported by some people. Y'all got to be careful, and we're not going to report rumors here on this channel. I'm just not going to do it. I don't think it's worth it. I think it tarnishes the integrity of your channel. But it's reported that he was ready to sign a deal Friday.
Stop the cap.
And also his manager and music execs were there yesterday. Well, let me go and tell you what the main executive for his record label said. And that is his sister, Dora. She put to rest all of these rumors that were going around about record labels being in court. And this isn't against you, Hood Inc. This is just against the people who are spreading these rumors. What does Dora say? Hi, Dora says, by the way, Jeffrey's record label was not present yesterday. She said, I hate the internet. Shout out to Dora. She also said, what did she say before that? Let me see if I can find it. Let me see. I think that was the only thing that she sent out. Also, you had Young Thugs in there laughing. I had a couple things to say to her. And then you have other people in here who, it's fine. I don't want to start stuff with people, but yeah, just be careful where y'all get your information from. It is what it is.
And adamantly deny that YSL is the criminal, dangerous street gang which it's been made out to be through this trial. We're actually quite happy with the record which was established during the presentation of the state's evidence of the alleged murder of Mr. Jamari Holmes. This plea today, Mr. Ryan is making a decision which is going to be the best for his future, what future he has, because he's already serving a life sentence. Were he to be convicted and sentenced to additional time, he would remain in custody. As I stated, we think the record established will strongly support his appeal, and hopefully, when his conviction is overturned, we don't want him sitting in prison for something else. Certainly not for actions he took when he was younger, and actions he took which are largely a product of how he grew up. As I stated, Your Honor, Mr. Ryan was 15 years old at the time of the Jamari Holmes murder. You've seen through the text messages, he was out at all different hours, doing all different things, which I don't think anyone would want their 15-year-old to be out doing. And so that is where he was, and so he did adopt the people who were around him, the people who could support him, the people in his neighborhood who grouped themselves, calling themselves YSL. Mr. Ryan at no point was trying to advance a criminal street gang and their interests. He was trying to protect himself, being a young person, largely on his own, and this is where he's ended up. I would like to say that there's been some sort of rehabilitative function here since he was sentenced to prison. It doesn't appear that that has happened. As you've heard, some of his additional cases are within the prison system. It would be wonderful if some of the money spent on a case like this could possibly be invested in the future of people like Mr. Ryan, who go into custody at such a young age, and who really then are not given the resources to make the changes that they really would like to make to have a productive future. With all of that said, I think Mr. Ryan has grown up a lot during this trial. He doesn't want to sit through this anymore. He doesn't want to ever be back in a courtroom ever again, Your Honor. He's heard about all sorts of incidents, which the 2015 crimes, he was 11 years old. Mr. Ryan's most sincere wish is to move on with his life, to put this behind him. And we thank the court for the opportunity to resolve the case in this way and not drag it out any further than it has been.
All right.
He just would like to thank the court, Judge.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Ryan, I just want to make sure that you understand that this is ultimately, the decision is yours to make, not your attorneys, and I appreciate that both Ms. Abbasi and Misty Williams have been available and giving you legal advice and guidance, but it's ultimately your decision. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and do you in fact want to plead guilty?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and you've had enough time to think about it and to discuss it with your attorneys?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And Ms. Bossi, have you and or Mr. Williams talked to Mr. Ryan about the benefits and drawbacks of all of his different options?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. All right. I find that there is a factual basis for the guilty plea to count one, the conspiracy to violate the RICO Act.
That's
Whatever the difference of opinion may be with regard to what YSL is or isn't, and what Mr. Ryan may or may not have intended. There is a factual basis that exists from the record as it already is in this case to support the necessary elements of the conspiracy to violate the RICO Act. And I have heard many of the alleged overt acts and the conspiracy evidence to advance the enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity and to control personal property and money, and I find that the factual basis for that exists, and I am going to accept Mr. Ryan's guilty plea. I find it to be freely, knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily entered with an understanding of the consequences of this plea, and I'm going to sentence in accord with the recommendation that both of the state and the defense have worked hard to negotiate here, which is a sentence of 10 years commuted to time served and to be run concurrently with the sentence that Mr. Ryan is currently serving. And certainly within the court's consideration is the knowledge that Mr. Ryan is at this time serving a life sentence for the murder of Mr. Holmes. And while I understand that that is on appeal right now, you know, those are the facts as they exist right now. So that is the sentence of this court. Mr. Ryan, at 20 years old, you have most of your life ahead of you, and I don't know what it is going to hold with regard to your appeal or anything after that. But whether it is more years in custody or whether at some point in time you see the light of day to the outside world again, which is very likely considering your age, as long as you behave yourself while you're incarcerated and do not continue to either commit crimes in prison or violate any of the prison rules. If you can be on the straight and narrow, then somebody your age, after serving some amount of time, is probably going to be considered favorably for parole. And you just have to keep that in mind, that you need to be looking out for sort of the long run and not playing the short game, but playing the long game so that you have a future in front of you still. So that is your sentence, and I wish you luck, and I wish that with further maturity, much like Ms. Abbasi has said that you have already exhibited throughout the course of this trial, that you are able to make better decisions and steer your life in a better direction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Interesting. And shout out to Jasmine Dominique, makes an interesting point. Instead of blaming YSL, blame the family. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. The system is cruel. Of course, he needs some accountability, but he's literally under the care of his parents legally until 18 years of age. That's an interesting point. Sometimes the parents can be held accountable, but I think because he left at such an early age and then he was under the influence of somebody else. I mean, what do you do at that point? Rico Brady says, ClassE, the sad part is he had no family and money, but the streets gave him guns and drugs to compensate. It is sad. Yeah, and he's already doing the life sentence. As many of you know, it's currently under appeal. I don't know what's going to come of that, but we'll have to wait and see. Let me read a couple of these super chats, and then we'll keep going with the trial proceedings from yesterday. Let me double check and make sure court isn't live either. Okay, so we're still good. I'm hearing rumors of, I don't know, a later start time, but I'll keep y'all up to date on what I'm seeing from some credible sources. Here we go. Star Wars Iron Giant dropped the 5-bomb. He says 3.3 in the live, but oh, 3,300 in the live, but only 550 likes. Y'all do better. Hit that like button. Y'all like the video, man. We've got over 765 likes now. Thank y'all for doing that. Michi's in the building, said ClassE Beats. Authenticity is what I love about this channel and family. Aww. I truly hope these men don't regret these plea deals later. Hashtag free Jeffrey Williams. By the way, hit the like. It's not hard. We say that every day. And Michi is 1000% correct. I hope they don't either. In the legal system, I mean, it seems like lawyers especially, they play the game of risk. And as we mentioned yesterday, are you going to risk and you're going to put your life in the hands of a jury and just hope that the state continues to fumble and fall apart and that the jury's minds aren't already made up? Or are you going to put your life in your own hands? You say, I'm going to take the deal, the best deal that I can get right now, and keep my nose clean and try and make it. I don't think any of us can know until we're actually in that situation. So it's kind of tough to say, but yeah, can you imagine there being, oh man, with Monk Tunk's deal, can you imagine there being a not guilty verdict with his terrible, terrible deal? Sheesh. Shout out to Miss Birch is in here, says the only way for Young Thug to take a plea is he has to admit that he's the leader of the gang, but it's the DAs have not proven it. But I'm confused. Yeah, and that's a felony also. So if he agrees to count one, he's a felon and his ability to make money is going to be very limited. Now, I mean, are there ways around it? I don't know, but I still haven't seen something that if I were Young Thug's attorney or if I were Young Thug himself, that I would be like, yeah, I'll take that. I don't know. What else are y'all saying in here? Star Wars says there is the age of accountability. At some point, you're correct. Accountability shouldn't always fall on the parents. He was old enough to know he shouldn't take a life. Yeah. Uncle Polly's in here, said Thug's plea is going to be based off of what they can get out of SB and Yak. But the thing about that is, and let's go back into the original indictment. If you look at, where is it? We've got Diamante Kendrick on count 2, right? Which is murder. You've got Shannon Stillwell on count 2, which is murder. Jeffrey Williams is not being held on count 2. So if they get deals, one or both of them is going to have to plead guilty to count 2. Again, in my opinion, I'm not an attorney, but the DA is not just going to drop the biggest piece of this entire RICO charge, which is the murder. So it's either going to be, I don't know if Shannon and Yak are kind of having a standoff to see who jumps first. But that murder just can't disappear. I mean, they've already let several guys, I think 3 we're at now, just let that murder charge go away. So I don't know. Shout out to Where is the Balance, says rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors. Yeah. It's like, who's gonna jump first? That's got to be nerve wracking. Sean P says, nah, they don't got Woody on the streets knowing he did it. Shout out to Diamond Morales, says, what's charge 56? Charge 56 is participation in criminal street gang activity. And that goes way beyond, or that's not as difficult as a murder charge. Also, shout out to Amy in here, gifted 5 memberships. She gifted 1 to Kenya. Cash Money Cash was in here earlier. Taylor Made, Callie Jen, Sabrina Coleman, and I think I missed somebody else. Make sure y'all say thank you to Amy for gifting you a membership. Kristen Lee's in here, says, I love how the RICO charge is more important than a murder charge. I mean, it's wild that they're just dropping murder charges like this. And we're going to get into the next plea here in a second. But we've got, where else? Amy says, looks like they aren't pursuing the murder charge for Yak anymore. What? So it's all going to rest on Shannon. That is crazy. Amy, where are you hearing this from? Or you're actually looking it up. Okay. Let me see here. Let me see if I can find something. Oh, I can't see this. And the murder charge. So is he working on a plea deal now, Amy, that you know of? I just need to get Amy to call in. Shout out to H-Town Lawyer. Says, good morning. Can you imagine the jury coming back and seeing that there are only 3 defendants left? Who will they be mad at? The state or the defense? It's a risk, but I would not plead. Hashtag free thug. Yeah, that would definitely be weird. I'm sure they would have a lot of questions and probably just go to YouTube and see what and try and figure out what happened. But let's go ahead and keep going with these the court proceedings from yesterday. Thank you to everyone who sent in super chats as well. Amy says, when you pull up his charges, they removed his murder charge. What? That's crazy. I mean, it's possible it could be a glitch, but Doug Weinstein on X, and I guess he could be playing us, but he's been making it seem as though they've got to keep fighting and that Yak isn't taking a plea deal. But if you're saying they pulled his murder charge, then I mean, they could be working on something. And Kel Bell made a great point as well. With everyone else gone, it can make the remaining people look more guilty. Rice Street said, go ahead, Amy, and call in. Yeah, Amy, let me know if you want to call in. Amy also says the murder charges are getting tossed because they don't have any evidence, which is a dang shame. I get murder charge being pled down, but to be thrown out, that's wild, which goes back to they didn't investigate any of them thoroughly.
Right. And so what we have ultimately is that there is no evidence, none.
Yeah. I think that's very apparent, but their whole basis for this RICO is on Donovan Thomas's murder. So again, I'm not an attorney. I can't see how they could just throw these out, and they can't put it on Thug because he definitely, and I don't think they're even arguing that he pulled the trigger. So it doesn't make sense. Mr. Spiffy says someone got to take the L. 3 co-defendants left. Somebody's got to take it. Who do they have the most evidence on? In my opinion, it seemed like it was Yak, but we have to check on Shannon here in a minute, I guess. She says, Miss Burt says, I'm sorry, maybe I'm seeing it and hearing it wrong, but to me, Lil Rod is innocent. I'm sorry for the loss of the young man. I pray everything works out. Well, we didn't really get to hear much about Lil Rod, but when it comes to everything that happened in this trial, I mean, Leah Abbasi just demolished the one detective and how he conducted his investigation and the reasonable doubt there. So I don't see how it doesn't seem like he really is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Let me say it that way. And Denise in here says, yes, he seems to be innocent and young and got the bad end of a stick. I agree. Whereas the balance says Dennis, Gaither, and Thorpe couldn't solve it because Gaither roasted Peanut. Oh, man. James Rittenberry says, ClassE, did you see my comment? It makes complete sense. I did not see your comment, sir. And it might be gone by now. But yeah, just put it in there again, James, and I'll look out for it. Patricia McCorvey says, I heard from another source that Yak and the other member refused the offer. They said Steele laughed out loud to Thug's offer. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that the DA would offer him something favorable. It just doesn't make sense. All right, let's get back into the court proceedings from yesterday. Y'all make sure you like the video if you haven't yet.
Mr. Matthews, are y'all ready? All right. You may. Yes. And I'm going to go ahead and, where's Mr. Roster? Give you these documents. And then is that indictment? Give Mr. Yes. Okay. All right, so we already have the signed copy of the indictment. Mr. Huey and Mr. Ryan have both signed, so I have that already. Yes.
And now we've got the other Quays about to enter his plea. And the interesting thing about this is it seems like this was the best opportunity the Quays were going to get, especially since the free Quay hashtag was brought up. So it was smart for them to really push to get this.
Okay. All right, and Sergeant, if you can swear in.
All right, before we get to this, shout out to Miss Mandy Reacts in here, says she talked to Doug today. Can I call in? I have info. Absolutely, Mandy. Let me go ahead and open the phone lines real quick. And thank you for the super chat, Mandy Reacts. She said she wants to call in, so let me see here. And this is just for Mandy to call in right now. I'm going to see what she has to say. Mandy or Amy as well. If Amy, you want to call in too, let me know. And let me know what area code it is, Mandy, so we can get you in here. And let me see if I can find anything else while we wait for Mandy to call in. Rick Stevens says, with all these pleas, Paige is spreading this thing. Paige sped this thing up all right. Yeah, I agree. Fed breaks all laws and covers them up. Is there court today? Yes, Southside, there is court today. Shout out to Puerto Rican Gloria says, I hope they fight until mistrial with prejudice because the state is going to mess up again. Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. Rice Street. Don't listen to Rice Street. Okay, this should be Mandy here.
Call from Miss Mandy.
All right, there we go. We've got Miss Mandy Reacts in the building. Good morning. Thank you for calling in, Mandy. I appreciate you.
Hey, yeah, I'm the producer for Dear Woke Christian. And we had Doug on last week or the week before, and he and I kind of struck up a friendship, and he called this morning, and he originally told me not to say anything, but then he texted me back, and he was like, you know what, I don't care if you tell. They did offer Yak a plea, and he said it was so bad that they turned it down. And he did say there would be no mistrial.
Wow. So no mistrial?
No mistrial.
Okay, so go ahead. I'll let you finish.
And that's true about Steele. They offered Doug a plea, and he said Steele busted out laughing.
I can't imagine what it said. Did Doug give you any insight into possibly the time or what stipulations there were going to be? I mean, clearly one of them would be testimony, but I can't imagine that it would be anything worth considering.
All he said is that he wasn't going to plead to anything that he didn't do, and that it was not a very good deal.
Yeah. Yeah, they're probably offering
and I don't blame him. I don't blame him for not wanting to plead to anything you didn't do. And if it's not a good deal, why take it?
Yeah, and was this offered at some point yesterday or earlier this week?
I think it was yesterday. He said that they were gonna plea yesterday, but it wasn't good. So
yeah, I'd be interested to know if there was any back and forth too, because it seemed like especially Monday and Tuesday there was a lot of negotiation going on. If they sent something back to him, or if they just looked at the initial offer by the state and just said it's not going to happen. I can imagine that's probably the case with Brian Steele, because I mean, what are they going to offer young
Steele
Thug?
apparently gave a counter offer.
Interesting. Okay. And do you have any insider information behind what was considered in that counter offer?
I don't. No,
okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, that's great information. Shout out to you for getting it straight from Doug.
Yeah, that's all I have, unfortunately. But
I mean, that's
pray
still...
for the guys and think about them, and hopefully they get the best, and the best happens for them and for the victims.
Yeah, I mean, that still makes sense to me, because like we've been saying this morning, you've got SB and you've got Yak. They're the only ones that the state can at this point hold accountable for a couple of different murders. Attempted murders, at least. Right. But young Thug, I mean, he can't go anywhere at this point. And it seemed like this has always been set up for Brian Steele and Young Thug to ride it out. Now, hopefully it doesn't end up being Young Thug standing there by himself. But with the seriousness of not only the RICO charge but the murder charges, I think these three amigos are going to be there for a minute, and Doug, Max, and Brian are a pretty solid team, in my opinion.
I will tell you a theory that I have just based on talking to Doug a little bit. I do think that Bonnie wants everyone to plead to RICO, that she's willing to drop almost everything if they will plead to RICO. So it's a W for her.
Even the murder charge?
Yeah. She's dropped one already.
Yeah, she's dropped a couple. Yeah, she's dropped a couple over the past few days. So that is, I'm shocked by that. Wow.
I'm not considering it's funny, but
yeah,
that way, if it's election time, that way she can say, look, I got all these guys on RICO. I'm cleaning up the streets.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. There's no way Thug's going to let her have that, though. I mean, not with his record being what it looks like. Taking a felony and pleading to a RICO is just seems like a huge risk. So, I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mandy. And I appreciate you. You can call in anytime. Do you have a YouTube channel yourself, or are you mainly supporting Dear Woke Christian right now?
Both. It's Miss Mandy Reacts, but I do a lot for Jason, his producer. But yeah, follow Dear Woke Christian and Miss Mandy Reacts, please.
Okay, there they go. Appreciate you shouting them out. Thank you to Amy for dropping the links to those channels in the chat as well. You have a blessed day, Miss Mandy. You can call in anytime. I appreciate you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, that was Miss Mandy Reacts in the building. Very, very interesting. And she's even saying what she's hearing from Doug Weinstein himself. Still, I guess in my instance, maybe a little bit of hearsay, but she talked to Doug Weinstein himself. And she is saying that it's looking like Fannie is willing to throw out everything other than the RICO charge, which is crazy. But it's dope. And I really appreciate Miss Mandy calling in, because it's nice to hear someone who's actually there and talking to some of the attorneys, not something that she's just hearing from other people. So thank you so much for adding so much value to the channel here, Miss Mandy Reacts, and for the super chat as well. And shout out to Dear Woke Christian. Oh man, we've got the True and Living Brand TV in here. He says, peace, ClassE, from Nate in Tennessee. Shout out to Nate in Tennessee, my favorite state in the entire United States. Tennessee is amazing. Who else do we have in here? Oh, also shout out to the awesome, amazing Amy dropping the links for Miss Mandy and Dear Woke Christian. Y'all make sure you give him a follow. What else are we saying? Southside said Thug should be, I think you're saying this should be a mistrial after the testimony airs. And plus, Paige is saying she is trying to clean up the state's mess. Show prejudice alone. The judge's job is not to clean up the state's mess. Well, the judge's job is to run the court accordingly, right? And to run a fair trial. And if the state is holding her back from doing that, she's going to have to help guide them and say, hey, God, like, she said this before, even to Mr. Brown. I just want some attorneys that know how to try a case. And if the state can't do their job, I mean, she can't just call a mistrial because she's frustrated. I wish she could, but man, it's just a whole mess. And I think Fannie Willis kind of knew that she was getting into something that was a mess and that this was going to be a struggle. And at the end of the day, Fulton County would just have to see this through. And have there been some errors? Yes. Has she had a chance and an opportunity to grant a mistrial? Yes. But Judge Whitaker, I mean, she's looking out for herself in some instances too and wants to get this to a verdict. What does Amy say? Each person that took a plea deal, I did not hear in the agreement of them saying YSL is a gang. Nope. Or did I miss that being stated? No. And we're going to get into Mr. Huey's plea deal as well. I haven't heard yet that they're saying YSL is a gang. And we could go back and look at what the indictment says, and specifically in count 1. But I don't think them pleading guilty says that YSL is a gang. So let's see. As associates of the Enterprise Young Slime Life YSL, the defendants conspired to associate together and with others for the common purposes of illegally obtaining money and property through a pattern of racketeering activity and conducting and participating in the enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity in furtherance of the conspiracy. So let's see, the enterprise. YSL is an enterprise consisting of a group of individuals associated, in fact, although not a legal entity. YSL constitutes an ongoing organization whose members function as a continuing unit for the common purpose of achieving the objectives of the enterprise. Here's the history. So, Amy, I think you're right on that part. I don't know that it matters as much. And I would have to know from one of our amazing attorneys here in the community if it does, but just violating the RICO Act doesn't necessarily mean you're in a gang. And that's what it seems like, but I could be wrong. So I think you're right there as well. And good morning to everybody just stopping by and saying good morning. Who else do we have in here? I want to make sure I get a couple more comments and then we'll get back into the coverage from yesterday. Yeah, Ducky Dexter says it's a catch-22 there with Judge Whitaker. Howdy Girl says, ClassE, I was told the feds can pick up these guilty pleas. Do you think that's true? The feds can pick up the guilty pleas? And Anthony Britt said you're right. The feds can do whatever they want to. Let's be abundantly clear. So yes, when it comes to the RICO side, they can, but nobody's pled guilty to the murder charge. So what are they going to do? I mean, they never even looked at Thug's finances. What else do they have to point to Young Thug that we don't know about? They could, but I think if they wanted to pick this up by now, it seems like they would have. So I don't know. You'll have to. They can do that if they want to, Just, I'm not seeing it, but there could be more to that they know. To answer your question, yes, they can. Southside is saying what we're all thinking. The evidence is too weak for the feds to pick this up. Rice Street says, good morning to all you classy co-conspirators. Shout out to the co-conspirators in the building. We ain't worried about Rice Street. Amy says the federals can pick up a second prosecution. The U.S. government is a separate sovereign from the state. Yep, just like Mexico and Canada are separate sovereigns. Yeah, the Fed, they do not care what the state is doing. They can come in and be like, hey, y'all are done. Let me have all this. But Amy says they won't because...
Right. And so what we have ultimately is that there is no evidence, none.
Yeah. Not from what we're seeing. The state is scraping and scrambling. Let's go ahead and get into Mr. Huey's coverage here. And I'll check and see if court has started.
Mr. Huey?
Yes. My name is Marquavius Huey.
Your Honor, we have just received the redacted document here, so if I can have an opportunity just to execute the...
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Right.
And Mr. Matthews, just so that the record is clear, I know that y'all are just now signing the, I guess it's still a, 5-page document? That this is not the first time you're seeing the most of what's in that document, correct?
Absolutely not.
Right. So there were a couple of items removed from the sentencing acknowledgments at your request. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And otherwise, other than that section 4, everything has essentially stayed the same with regard to the rest of the document. Is that correct?
That is also correct.
All right. And you and Mr. Matthews and Mr. Huey were aware of the changes that were getting made?
Yes.
All right. Do y'all need any additional time to look over the refreshed document?
We do not. I've reviewed it, and we are ready to proceed.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay.
Let me get that transcript.
Okay, I have it.
Did you want to see it first, Ron?
No, that's all right. It's essentially the same.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So you've got the waiver of rights and this separate kind of list of the charges and the sentences. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. The indictment is open.
And the indictment is with Ms. Rosser. I'm ready whenever.
Mr. Huey, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the answer shall give in the manner now pending before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
You can put your hands down.
I think he already got sworn, so you're double sworn at this point.
Please state your true and correct legal name.
Marquavius Huey. MARQUAVIUS. HUEY.
And are you the same Marquavius Huey on indictment 22 SC 183572?
Yes.
Are you at this time taking or under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medicine?
No.
How old are you?
28.
And how far did you go in school?
12th grade, high school diploma.
Are you able to read, write, and understand the English language?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you were, in this indictment, charged with Count 1, conspiracy to violate the Racketeer, Influence, and Corrupt Organizations Act, which carried a sentence of 5 to 20 years.
Yes.
Count 3, you were initially charged with armed robbery, which carried a sentence of 10 to 20 years or life.
Yes.
You were charged with count 4 and 5 of this indictment, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, which each carry a sentence of 1 to 20 years.
Yes.
You were charged with count 6 and count 7 in this indictment, which you charged with possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony.
Yes.
And that carries a sentence of 5 years to serve consecutive to any other count in the indictment.
Yes.
You were also charged with armed robbery in counts 14 and 15.
Yes.
Also charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon for count 16 or 17.
Yes.
You were charged with hijacking a motor vehicle in the first degree.
Yes.
You were initially charged with possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony.
Yes.
Counts 19 and 20. You were charged with 4 counts of participation in criminal street gang activity, which were counts 21, 22, 23, and 46.
Yes.
And you were charged with possession of a weapon by an incarcerated individual, which was count 44, and possession of a telecommunication device by an incarcerated individual, which was count 45. Do you understand that those were?
Hold on a second. I want to see what count 44 was. He was in their possession of a weapon by an incarcerated individual. Come on, man. Hold on. I want to find this. Let me see if I can find what Mr. Huey had going on. I was going to look at this afterwards, but let me see. Here we go. Let's find this. What's the story on him having a shank in prison? Terroristic threats. Oh man, we're gonna have to review all this from Mr. Huey. Here we go. All right. On February 18th of 2022, defendant Marquavius Huey and Mr. Mender, associates of YSL, did unlawfully commit the felony offense of possession of a weapon by an inmate when, while incarcerated at Fulton County Jail, did possess an illegal weapon, to wit, a shank, of course, beyond the guard lines in violation of Georgia law pursuant 42-518. And he had a cell phone. Come on, Mr. Huey. Sheesh. This is Quay number 2. All right, there we go.
Your initial charge in this indictment.
Yes.
Do you understand that you have the right to plead either guilty or not guilty to these charges?
Yes.
And if you plead not guilty or remain silent, you may receive a jury trial.
Yes.
Have you had an opportunity to go over this waiver of rights form with your attorneys?
Yes, ma'am.
And is this your signature on this document on page 4 of this document?
Yes.
Have you had enough time to speak with your attorneys, Carrington Matthews Sr. and Carrington Matthews Jr., about all the facts and circumstances known to you regarding the charge in this indictment, including any potential defenses?
Yes.
Do you need any more time to discuss this matter with your attorney?
Nope.
Are you satisfied with their counsel and representation?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you waive formal reading of the indictment?
Yes.
Do you waive any defects, if any, with respect to the indictment?
Yes.
Is it your understanding, have you been arrested on all of the charges contained within this indictment?
Yes.
And Mr. Matthews Jr., are you aware of any other outstanding warrants for these charges?
We are not aware of any.
Have your attorneys advised you of the minimum and maximum sentence for each charge that you are pleading to?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that this is a negotiated plea of guilty, which means that the state will recommend to the court the following sentence?
Yes.
let me tell you the sentence first.
Oh.
As to count 1, which is conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act, the state's recommendation is 20 years to serve 9 years in custody, the balance of 11 years on probation. As to count 3, armed robbery, based on the negotiations, the state will reduce the armed robbery to robbery and offer a sentence of 20 years to serve 9 years in custody, concurrent with count 1, the balance of 11 years on probation. As to count 4, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, the state will recommend 20 years to serve 9 years in custody, concurrent with counts 1 and count 3, balance of 11 years on probation. As to count 5, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, the state agrees to null pros or dismiss that count. As to count 6, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, the state's recommendation is 5 years to serve, consecutive to counts 1, 3, 4, 14, 15, and 44 to be suspended. As to count 7, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, the state will null pros or dismiss that count.
They dismiss that one?
As to count 14, which is armed robbery, we'll reduce that to robbery, 20 years to serve 9 years in custody, concurrent with counts 1, 3, and 4, balance of 11 years on probation. Count 15, armed robbery, reduced to robbery, 20 years to serve 9 years in custody, concurrent with counts 1, 3, 4, and 14, balance of 11 years on probation. Count 16 will be null pros or dismissed. Count 17, that count will merge with count 15. Count 18 will be null pros or dismissed by the state. Count 19, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, will be 5 years to serve, consecutive to counts 1, 3, 4, 14, 15, 17, and 44, but concurrent with count 6, and that will be suspended. Count 20 will be null pros or dismissed by the state. Count 21 will be 5 years to serve, concurrent with counts 1, 3, 4, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, and 44. Count 22 will be null pros or dismissed by the state, as well as count 23 will be null pros or dismissed by the state. Count 44, possession of a weapon by an incarcerated individual, will be 5 years to serve, concurrent with counts 1, 3, 4, 14, 15, and 17, and counts 45 and 46 will be null pros or dismissed by the state. Do you understand that that's the state's recommendation?
Yes.
Do you understand that the total sentence is 25 years to serve 9 years in custody with a balance of 14 years? 9 of those 14 years will be served on probation and 5 years will be suspended. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Do you understand that the court does not have to accept that recommendation?
Yes.
And the court can sentence you to the maximum of each charge and can run those charges consecutively, one after the other.
Yes.
Wow.
Do you understand that this plea may be used to enhance sentencing on other convictions in this jurisdiction as well as in other jurisdictions, including the federal courts?
Yes.
Do you understand that if you are currently on probation or parole, your probation or parole may be revoked based on your entering a guilty plea today?
Yes.
Do you understand if you are placed on probation of any kind, you cannot violate any criminal laws of any governmental unit or any special conditions without being subject to revocation for the balance of the sentence?
Yes.
And do you understand that there were several special conditions of probation that you must adhere to, which are contained within this documentation?
Yes.
And have you had an opportunity to go over each of these special conditions with your attorneys?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you also go over with your attorneys your sentencing acknowledgments regarding this plea agreement?
Yes.
And is this also your signature on this documentation with your attorney going over each of the each of the special conditions of probation?
Yes.
And did you fully understand the special conditions of probation?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Hilton, can you pass that document up to the court, please? Thank you.
Yep, Judge Whitaker's smart with checking homework.
Did you want to review it before I continue? Did you want to review it before I continue?
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
That's a great point. Nikki says if he violates probation, he's still getting a lot less time than before he took his plea deal. He was looking at 3 life sentences plus 100 years. What? Now it's like 20 if he violates. That's crazy. Yep. No murder charge either. So he's he didn't have a murder charge, so he's good. Shout out to Ms. Burt says if the feds wanted to take on this case, they would have already because it would have been an investigation. The feds won't touch it because of the evidence. What evidence?
Right. And so what we have ultimately is that there is no evidence, none.
Do you understand
Leave me alone.
that you are not allowed to possess or use a firearm while on probation?
Yes.
Do you understand that you are not a United States citizen? A guilty plea conviction will affect your immigration status and will result in deportation, just like a conviction at a trial would, and that this is true regardless of any advice by your attorney or anyone else?
Yes.
Did y'all know I did not realize Mr. Huey was an immigrant? I had no idea. Does anybody know where he's from or his backstory? I'm gonna look into that.
Do you understand that neither the courts, your attorney, nor the district attorney's office has anything to do with parole, the Department of Corrections, or the Board of Pardons and Paroles, and no one can guarantee parole no matter what anyone has told you?
Yes.
Do you understand that there may be other adverse or unfavorable consequences as a result of this guilty plea conviction, just as there would be from a conviction following a trial? For example, your guilty plea may affect your right to vote, your right to hold public office, your right to serve on a jury, your right to obtain a passport, your right to receive, possess, or transport a firearm, or the ability to obtain employment. Do you understand?
Yes.
Wait, I'm seeing something that says he's Chinese? What?
Do you understand that by pleading guilty to a felony, if you use, receive, possess, or transport a firearm, or use a firearm in a crime, you will be guilty of a felony, which may carry a sentence of 1 to 15 years in prison?
Yes.
Do you understand that you waive any and all defenses, including any mental health defenses, by entering a plea of guilty?
Yes.
Do you understand that if you went to trial, you have the right to a trial by jury, the right to see, hear, and confront witnesses called to testify against you, and the right to testify to remain silent and not incriminate yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you're giving up the following rights, and after each right, I'll ask you to respond? The right to trial by jury,
Yes.
the right to remain silent and not incriminate yourself,
Yes.
the right to confront witnesses against you,
Yes.
the right to assistant counsel hired by you or to court-appointed counsel if you cannot afford an attorney at the trial of your case,
Yes.
the right to presumption of innocence,
Yes.
the right to testify on your own behalf and to present other evidence,
Yes.
the right to subpoena witnesses and compel the production of evidence,
Yes.
the right to have the charge against you proved beyond a reasonable doubt,
Yes.
and the right to appeal if convicted of these charges after a trial.
Yes, ma'am.
Has anyone forced, threatened, or promised you anything to get you to enter a guilty plea?
No.
With respect to indictment 22 SC 183572, how do you plead to the charges in that indictment?
I plead guilty.
Is this guilty plea freely and voluntarily given with a full knowledge of charges against you?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you may have only a limited right to appeal this guilty plea conviction?
Yes.
Do you understand you have 4 years from today's date to file a habeas corpus petition challenging the voluntariness and constitutionality of this guilty plea.
Yes.
Do you understand that you have 30 days in which to appeal your conviction based on your plea today?
Yes.
And do you understand that you have until the end of this term of court to file a motion seeking to withdraw your guilty plea?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't find anything, but they're saying he's from Atlanta. He's not an immigrant. Okay. It's just, I didn't hear them bring up the immigration status with anybody else. But I don't listen well.
Your Honor, if this case were to go to trial, the state would expect, or if we were to continue with trial, the state would expect to show, or evidence has shown and will show, that Mr. Huey conspired with others to participate in YSL through a pattern of racketeering activity, and multiple defendants, as well as unindicted co-conspirators, have committed overt acts to further this conspiracy, to include drug sales, aggravated assault, and murder. Also, it includes posting on social media, asserting the violent nature of and the dominance of Young Slime Life, aka YSL. Specifically, Mr. Huey himself participated in 2 robberies. He posted on social media, and he engaged in text messages with his fellow co-conspirators. On April 26, 2019, Mr. Huey, along with another individual, armed around Mr. Dewan Maynard, at an apartment complex located on Masargo Drive in the Buckhead neighborhood in Atlanta, Georgia, Fulton County. He robbed Mr. Maynard at gunpoint and pistol whipped him. Mr. Huey was wearing a very distinctive yellow jacket. He stole a ring, a necklace, a luxury wallet, and other
allegedly
items. He then fled the scene in a black Mustang. Portions of this robbery, Your Honor, were caught on surveillance video. After the robbery, Mr. Huey was seen on his social media account with the ring and necklace that is identical to the items that were stolen from Mr. Maynard. Additionally, on Instagram, Your Honor, on social media, there were several pictures of Mr. Huey photographed next to a black Mustang. There were several pictures. Lastly, there were pictures of Mr. Huey on his social media wearing the same distinctive yellow jacket that was seen on the surveillance video. Based on that evidence, Your Honor, arrest warrants were issued for Mr. Huey. While on bond for the April 2019 armed robbery, Your Honor, on October 1st, 2020, Mr. Huey went to the apartments located at 250 Fulton Street, Atlanta, Georgia, Fulton County, to meet with Mr. Gary Holloman. Gary Holloman, who is now deceased, told law enforcement officers on the night that he was robbed that Mr. Huey, who he knew, asked to meet with him so that Mr. Holloman could give Mr. Huey money to put on another co-conspirator, Tinquarius Mender's books or commentary at the Fulton County Jail. Tinquarius Mender, who is a co-defendant and co-conspirator, is the nephew of Gary Holloman. Mr. Mender and Mr. Huey were friends or are friends. Mr. Holloman agreed to meet with Mr. Huey at the location. While at the location, Mr. Huey, along with another individual, approached Mr. Holloman. One person had an assault rifle. They took from Mr. Holloman his car and his money. They also robbed another young lady by the name of Misha Coppage. Mr. Huey and the other unidentified individual fled the scene and left. Mr. Holloman immediately called the police. When police arrived, Mr. Holloman was able to use another cell phone to track his phone. He was able to track that phone going in the direction of I-75 South, and ultimately that phone was located on Oak Drive, which is in the Cleveland Avenue area, which is the area or territory for Young Slime Life. Also, Mr. Holloman was able to show police officers the social media pages of Mr. Huey to identify him. Initially, the police marked this case as an information, and the case was not initially investigated. However, about 1 month later, Mr. Holloman went to the police headquarters, spoke with investigators. He was able to pick Mr. Huey out of the photographic lineup. Subsequently, investigator Marissa Viverito, who was formerly with the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, found a jail call with Tinquarius Mender, Mr. Mender's mother, as well as Gary Holloman discussing the robbery, and Mr. Holloman discussing what occurred to him. Arrest warrants were taken out for Mr. Huey. He was initially arrested in November of 2020. During that arrest and pursuant to a search warrant, his home was searched. In that search, they found 2 rifles, 2 rifle handguns. Also, they found items belonging to an individual by the name of Chandler Durham. During that search warrant, they seized Mr. Huey's phones and pursuant to a search warrant, did a search of those phones. Upon seeing the items from Chandler Durham, Investigator Viverito checked the Atlanta Police Department database to find if there were any police reports associated with the Chandler Durham. She found a police report from March 12, 2020. In that report, Chandler Durham reported that while he was working at a music studio, his car and additional items to include a luxury bag were stolen. After finding the report, Investigator Viverito went through the contents of Mr. Huey's phone, and she saw a few text messages of note. She saw a text conversation on March 12, 2020 between Jeffrey Williams and Mr. Huey. Jeffrey Williams told Mr. Huey that they needed to take that shit back. Mr. Huey denied involvement in taking the items and blamed it on another person. Mr. Williams then told Mr. Huey in this text message, if he doesn't take it back, he's going to die. Also found in Huey's cell phone were 2 incidents in which Mr. Huey and Mr. Williams were in conversation with each other regarding rival gang member Rayshawn Bennett, aka YSL Lucci. On January 19th, 2020, Mr. Williams sent a flyer to Huey with a performance location of YSL Lucci. The text message read, handle that tonight, slat. Then Huey responded, slat. Your Honor, based on the state's understanding, slat means slime love all the time. Then on September 2nd, 2020, Mr. Huey sent a flyer to Mr. Williams with another performance location of Mr. Rayshawn Bennett. Mr. Williams texted, flatty, handle, and stay very low. Huey's response was slat and for sure, I've been out the way. And appreciate you for everything, my brother. Never about money with me, I'm built on loyalty. Williams' response was slat, handle that, I got you. In 2021, we were able to recover another phone from Mr. Huey after he was subsequently arrested on grand jury warrants. When we did a search warrant of that phone, there was additional communication between Mr. Williams and Mr. Huey. Mr. Huey told Mr. Williams on November 14, 2021, you know I'm ready to handle the business and go sit down if I got to about any one of y'all on my mama. This text message followed information that was provided to Investigator Viverito by Kenneth Copeland. Kenneth Copeland, during an October 2021 interview, advised Investigator Viverito that he was aware of a potential plot to harm another another rival gang member, Kelvin Watts, also known as Shell Kel, at a venue, Diamonds of Atlanta on Northside Drive. Mr. Coleman advised that he was aware that Huey was to participate in this plot to harm Watts, and he attempted to tell Huey not to participate. Lastly, Your Honor, on February 18, 2022, while housed at the Fulton County Jail, along with Aquarius Mender, they were both housed in the same cell. There was a search of that dorm specifically, and inside of the cell, there was a shank and an illegal cell phone inside of their cell that they shared. And based on what we know from other evidence that we have, that cell phone was used to communicate with other YSL members. Your Honor, this is the evidence that we believe would have come out had we continued with trial. Given where we are, Your Honor, and the charges, we made a decision to resolve this case with Mr. Huey for the offer that was relayed earlier, Your Honor. I have a copy.
All right, and with regard to the offer, I just wanted to be clear that on counts 6 and 19, which are possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime, while this 5-page plea agreement document reflects that those are going to be served on probation, the intention of both parties is that those 2 counts be suspended. Yes. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay,
Yes, Your
and in your global sentence, it says 5 years suspended, and so I assume that that's what y'all meant by that.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Mr. Matthews?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon to this honorable court, Your Honor. I'd like to begin by expressing to the court that we emphatically and categorically deny all of the recitation that's been presented by the court with respect to some of these allegations that's been laid out by the state. However, we do recognize that there are enough factual allegations in the recitation to support each and every count to which Mr. Huey is pleading this afternoon. So we do stipulate that there is enough to move forward with this plea. For those
Yeah, so they're basically saying, yeah, the state got us. I don't think we're going to beat it, so we might as well take the best deal that we possibly can right now, because it wasn't looking good for Mr. Huey. As y'all heard, he was a menace. That man was out in these streets, and even in the prison, he was cutting up, so yeah.
reasons, Your Honor, we are standing before this court to talk to this court about the acceptance of responsibility with respect to Mr. Marquavius Huey. Your Honor, Mr. Marquavius Huey was born in Atlanta, Georgia. He lived in the Jonesboro South community, a neighborhood project in the Atlanta community. He grew up there. He's seen a lot of things in his short 28-year life. His father was murdered in 2010, and he's been without a father for a number of years. He's been raised by his mother as a single parent. He has a number of siblings. There have been times when Mr. Huey and his mother and his family have been homeless and have lived out of a car. So he's had a very, very hard life as it relates to his upbringing. Notwithstanding that, Your Honor, he did manage to graduate from high school. Mr. Huey, Your Honor, now has 2 children. He's 28 years old. He has 2 children. He has a 5-year-old son, Your Honor. He has a 2-year-old little daughter that was born in July of 2022. He has never met or seen his daughter in person.
That's sad.
Until today, as she's here in this courtroom.
Dang.
He recognizes that choices puts him before this court in this case. Your Honor, we are asking this court to take into consideration that he has no prior felony convictions. I've had a very long time to get to know Mr. Huey because I've been with Mr. Huey on a regular, daily basis during the week since January of 2023. I've got a chance to know him. I've got a chance to work with him on his case regularly. And he wants to, when he gets out of custody, Your Honor, he wants to do a number of things, 2 in particular. He wants to start and become affiliated with a nonprofit organization where he can be able to talk to young children, teenagers, because he was a teenager when he lost his father, and things begin to take a turn for Mr. Huey. He wants to be able to tell teenagers, young boys, young black boys, he wants to be able to say to them, don't do what I did, and you have another way in which you can go. And he wants to be able to share his experiences in that way. I have linked Mr. Huey up with an organization called Young Generation Movement, and I've known that nonprofit organization and the founder of that organization for a long period of time. He's also present in this courtroom, and I've linked Mr. Huey up with them so that when Mr. Huey gets out of custody, he will be able to have an organization that can mentor him, that he can align himself with, where he can begin to engage himself with anti-violence nonprofit conduct and mentoring other young people. He also, in terms of being able to earn an income, because he is now, Your Honor, if this court accepts this plea, Mr. Huey will now, for the first time, be a convicted felon.
It's tough.
He is not first offender eligible.
Dang.
He wants
And
to
he's
get...
most likely not first offender eligible because of the nature of the felonies. He was out here acting wild.
So in terms of being able to earn an income, because he is now, Your Honor, if this court accepts this plea, Mr. Huey will now, for the first time, be a convicted felon. He is not first offender eligible. He wants to get his commercial driver's license, Your Honor, and he wants to get a trucking company and be able to earn a living for himself because he recognizes that it's going to be a challenge for him to be able to go out and apply for jobs and be able to get income by getting an employer to hire him. So he's going to focus and target himself to be able to fend for himself so that he can take care of his young children that he has helped to bring into this world. Your Honor, we are here before this court because it's an acceptance of responsibility. We recognize that this has been a very long, enduring trial, and we have come to a point where we have painstakingly negotiated with the state of Georgia, and we've come up with a negotiated resolution that we believe is one that is fair. We believe that is sufficient to recognize the seriousness of the charges that are before the court, and we believe it's one that will cause Mr. Huey to be able to see the light of day in a reasonable period of time. Mr. Huey has been in custody. I'd like to enter into the record, Your Honor, as Defendant's Exhibit 1 for sentencing purposes, a proof of incarceration from the Fulton County Sheriff's Office. Mr. Huey, through the computations of the various times when he was arrested on these charges and released, and from the time that he's currently been in custody to the present, he has approximately 4 years under his belt against that 9-year sentence, and that 9-year sentence is parolable. So we're going to enter that as an exhibit before the court.
All right, that'll be Defendant's Exhibit 1 to this plea hearing, and as you know, and as I'm sure you have shared with Mr. Huey, it's ultimately the Department of Corrections that calculates the time served portion of the sentence, so it'll ultimately be up to them, but I will include that as a part of my sentencing sheet as well.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor to represent Mr. Marquavius Huey along with my son, Attorney Carrington Matthews Jr., who also would like to address the court at this time, Your Honor. So we're asking this court to accept the negotiation that has been represented to the court, and Mr. C.J. Matthews.
Yes, good afternoon to this honorable court.
Good afternoon, Mr. Matthews.
I've been gracious with this opportunity to represent and serve Mr. Huey. Mr. Huey is an honorable young man. Mr. Huey does not allow his mistakes to define him, but he is remorseful, Your Honor.
Stop the cap.
Now, young Matthews. Did y'all hear this comment?
Accept the negotiation that has been...
Good afternoon to this honorable court.
Good afternoon, Mr. Matthews.
I've been gracious with this opportunity to represent and serve Mr. Huey. Mr. Huey is an honorable young man.
Stop the cap.
Honorable young man. That's kind of pushing it, but hey, let's keep it going.
Mr. Huey does not allow his mistakes to define him, but he is remorseful, Your Honor. He has learned, grown, and became a better man during this trial.
That's true, Fitz.
Mr. Huey will have a release date, Your Honor. And I'm confident in him that he be a working class citizen in society when he is released. We thank this honorable court and we respectfully ask this court to accept this plea on today.
All right, thank you, Mr. Matthews. Mr. Huey, I am sure that Mr. Matthews Sr. and Mr. Matthews Jr. have, I know that they have been working with you and negotiating with the state for I'm sure the entire course of this trial and proceeding, but very, very hard over the last week and a couple of days to get where we are right now. And I know that you know that given the severity and the number of charges that you were facing, that had you been convicted of all of those charges at trial, you were looking at the possibility of 3 consecutive life sentences, plus I think about 100 years after that. So the fact that the state is recommending jointly with your attorneys that your total sentence be 25 years with 9 of those to serve is, it's frankly remarkable,
It is
and
remarkable.
something that you should not take for granted or take lightly at all. These are very serious charges, and I hear what both Mr. Matthews have said about the challenges facing you in your life, and I am sorry for the loss of your father. One would hope that to have anybody that they love taken from them in a violent way like murder might have an impact upon their lives that would lead them in the right direction, but it's not particularly surprising that sometimes that's not what happens and it goes in a worse direction instead. I hope that with your age and with having really been faced with the distinct possibility of spending the entirety of the rest of your life in prison, the fact that you are getting this opportunity is not going to be wasted. I hope that you appreciate what the Matthews have done to go out of their way to line up somebody to be looking out for you when you are released from prison. I want to ask you, just like I have asked both Mr. Nichols and Mr. Ryan, is this your decision to enter this guilty plea? Because no matter what your attorney's advice is, it's ultimately up to you whether to plead guilty or continue with the trial. So is this what you want to do?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And have you had enough time to consider all of the different scenarios and to discuss everything you wanted to with your attorneys?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right. I think it's very clear that this plea is to your benefit, considering the potential downside of moving forward with the continued trial. I find there to be a factual basis to this plea. I appreciate the fact that y'all have stipulated that there is a factual basis, and I find the plea to be freely, knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily entered with an understanding of the consequences, and I will accept it as such. And I will sentence in accord with the negotiated recommendation. I'm not going to read everything out again. We've thankfully got it in writing for the sentence sheet, but in accord with what was put on the record and what is reflected in this this document, with a total sentence of 25 years to serve 9 in custody, balance of 14 years after that, 9 of those on probation and 5 suspended. And I'm going to impose the special conditions that you have already acknowledged and acknowledged that you would abide by. And, somebody with a high school diploma, which is more than a whole lot of people ever achieve. So you've already achieved and proven that you can achieve good things. And who is only 28 years old, and who can really look down and already see the light of day for a release date. You need to make sure that during your time incarcerated that you don't pull any of the kind of thing that you have been, that you actually are pleading guilty to at least some of by having contraband or in any other way getting in trouble, because that's not going to bode well.
Y'all think he's gonna make it? I don't know.
Going to recommend a transition program for you. I know that there's a lot of different job training available in our correction system, so I hope that you take advantage of that. And whether it's a commercial driver's license or whether you find something else that you want to do while you're in there, be making good use of your time while you're in there and furthering yourself. And you have had a fine example next to you for the past 2 years of what somebody can do with their lives. So don't forget about that, and be the father that you need to be and that you ought to be to your very young children. They're still going to be very young when you get out. And please make sure that you abide by all your probationary conditions, because if you don't, then you're going to be back to see me. And because I recognize how much of a break you are getting right now, I'm probably not going to be as lenient if you come back before me again, because you are getting a huge opportunity to turn your life around. Okay.
Judge Whitaker said, "Don't this up, because you're not gonna get another chance." Yeah, Huey was a menace. They had to take this 300. Well, we won't say 3. He had 3 life sentences plus 100 years he was looking at, and he got it down to, what is it, 20 something. We're gonna go back and look at his full deal. Crazy.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so that's the sentence of the court, and I want to wish you good luck and good fortune. You can get through the next few years, and then you can have the rest of your life to do good work with.
Can you address the court?
Yes. I should have asked that. I'm sorry.
That's okay, Judge. Thank you.
I want to thank the court and thank God. And I want to apologize to my kids, my family,
the victims,
and everybody who done supported me in this stressful process. And, I plan to do my time, come back, be a better man.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you,
Your Honor. Thank you.
All right.
Absolutely right, Street.
All right, let's take a recess.
And as many of y'all know, that recess
Stop the cap.
was capped. They never came back yesterday, so ooh-wee. So he's gonna be serving 9 years, and what's the probation? 25 years. Yeah, there it is. They're saying 14 years probation. Kel Bell says glad he's getting a second chance, but this is an example of how bad Fannie Willis wants Thug. She'll let people go who did real bad crimes just to get Thug, who we haven't seen. He wrote a couple of songs. He had beef with a guy who got killed, and he met up with some dudes after they did a bad crime. I don't know. I don't know about this one. We already looked through what Mr. Huey was being held responsible for, which was some crazy stuff. And it looks like he was the defendant that had the most counts in here. He's a close second to Christian Eppinger, which we haven't talked about, but another menace. I don't know. It might be close between those two. But between Christian and Mr. Huey, I mean, those guys really took the cake. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. What did Christian have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, he had the most counts against him. Makes sense for him to take this plea deal. Just looking at that. So good Lord have mercy. Let me read a couple of these super chats. Thank y'all for supporting. Thank you to everybody who's liked the video so far too. Still no court. So I don't know. It might be one of those late days again. Let me see. Some people are saying it's supposed to start at 11. Let's see here. I'm still not hearing anything. Still not hearing anything about a start time. But we've got, let's see. Les Cleaver is in the building, says, it will all work out for these best y'all. Shout out to, I think you meant to say y'all. Shout out to Les Cleaver in here with the 5-bomb. We've got Miss Birch says, if the feds wanted to take on this case, they would have already, because it would have been an investigation. Feds won't touch it because.
Right. And so what we have ultimately is that there is no evidence, none.
I almost said Kim Porter. Oh my goodness, rest in peace. Kim Palmer just dropped the 5-bomb with the super sticker. Thank you so much. And Michi's back in here again. Says someone arrest Rice Street. Oh no, he out here in these YouTube streets acting bad. Yeah, Rice Street, man. Listen, I love and appreciate Rice Street, but and we keep Rice Street at a distance. All right. The Honorable Attorney Kel Bell said, glad he's getting a second chance, but this is an example of how bad Fannie Willis wants Thug. Yeah, I think I read this earlier. She'll let people go who did real bad crimes just to get at Thug. Absolutely. Mr. Brown says, here's the truth. I believe he is going to be all right because when you look at his paperwork, that's not him. That's a bad drug run with bad decisions. But take away the drugs and he will be all right. The problem is he's going to be in prison. And if he doesn't act like right in prison, then Judge Whitaker says she's not going to be lenient on him if he has to come back before her again. And that's going to be a big part of it too. Mark isn't here. Mark says, a serious question. Do you think these pleas hurt or help Thug and the rest of his codependents? I'm going to kind of not answer the question. I think it's a win for the state. I don't know if it necessarily hurts Thug because when it comes to Thug, we really haven't seen evidence against him other than the fact that these guys were around. I don't see the organized crime from Thug. I don't see him being the leader of an organized crime group. I see some guys who committed crimes that may or may not have been in the furtherance of the organization. But I'm not seeing how this hurts Young Thug either way. Because they could say, oh yeah, I was in YSL and oh yeah, I committed these crimes. But what they can't say is, yeah, Young Thug was like, hey, y'all go get nut. I'm tired of this dude. Y'all go get him. Green light, nuts done. I'm not seeing any of that. So I don't know, Mark. That's a good question though. Y'all let me know what you think in the chat too. He says, I feel the same way. Renee's in here says, yes, they read a text when Thug told Huey to handle that. Meaning, I mean, what does that even mean? Where is the balance says Nut was already trying to kill him. We've got Davis Bagger Audio LLC says those guys were not led by anyone. They all did their own thing. I agree. Amy's reminding y'all to like the video. Ducky Dexter says, does this mean we won't get to see Mr. Matthew Sr. Silver Fox anymore? I know. I'm sorry, ladies. He gone. Unless he helps out the defense. I don't know. Sean P says, the judge is trying not to mistrial this ish and the state more time to make a deal. I don't see. Oh my gosh. What kind of deal though? What are they going to offer these guys? We heard from Miss Mandy Reacts earlier, and she said Fannie really wants to get these RICO charges. She might even be willing to drop the murder charge. What? That is insane to me. That she would even consider dropping the murder charge, but it seems like all she wants is the RICO, so I don't know. Stephen Aubrey is in here, says these kids all come from the streets and a hard life. They sold drugs to provide for themselves. Just because they are buddies with Thug doesn't mean anything. I agree. I think the jury would see that as well. Amber said, all I've seen is YSL is a gang of people who were doing music. It's a record label. Amy says, Young Thug in the Fulton County Courthouse holding cell, making that take... Amy, I can't read that out loud. Shout out to Amy. Oh my God. Derek is in here. Derek is in the building. Crossan says, ClassE, what do you think they offered Thug for Steele to laugh? I mean, he's only, where is it? They got him on count 1 and count 56, Derek. So let's break it down. Where did Young Thug go? Where's Jeffrey Williams? Count 1, count 56. What's count 1? Conspiracy to violate the RICO. All right, felony. Count 56. Participation in criminal street gang activity. So which one of these you want to take? Because they're not going to drop all the charges and say, hey, Young Thug, you just get time served. You know, just apologize to the families and we'll let you go. So he's got to plead guilty to something. I can imagine it would be the RICO charge because they've got everybody else on the RICO charge. They say, all right, you get a felony, plead guilty to the RICO. We'll give you time served plus, I don't know, 10, 15 years on probation. I mean, we all know that's a trap. We heard story after story yesterday and over this past week of how much of a trap probation is. And we even saw, oh, I got to pull this back up. I'm not going to lie, y'all. I knew probation was messed up, but this kind of had me shook yesterday. This messed me up right here. Let me see. Amy says, sorry for my potty. Oh my gosh. Amy is wilding today. You're fine, Amy. You're fine. Hold on a second. All right, here we go. When it came to probation, or when it comes to probation, this messed me up. And these are just general conditions of probation, right? Let's go back through these. Let's see here. Here we go. The defendant is subject to arrest for any violation of probation. If probation is revoked, the court may order incarceration. The defendant shall comply with the following general conditions of probation. 1. Do not violate the criminal laws of any governmental unit and be of general good behavior. Avoid injurious and vicious habits. Avoid persons or places of disreputable or harmful character. Report to the community supervision officer as directed and permitted by the community supervision officer to visit you at home or elsewhere. Work faithfully at sustainable employment insofar as may be possible. Do not change your place of abode, move outside the jurisdiction of the court, or leave Georgia without the permission of the community supervision officer. If permitted to move or travel to another state, you agree to waive extradition from any jurisdiction where you may be found and not contest an effort by any jurisdiction to return to this state. This one alone is a no-go for Young Thug. Probation cannot happen. He cannot leave Georgia without permission of his PO. What? That's crazy. That's absolutely insane. So this is a no-go. Hold on. I didn't finish reading the rest of this. Number 7, support your legal dependents to the best of your ability. When directed, in the discretion of the community supervision officer, you have to A, submit to evaluations and testing related to rehabilitation and participate in successfully complete, I don't know why I always say that, rehabilitative programming. Y'all think Young Thug's going to be off of drugs when he gets out? Wear a device capable of tracking locations by means including electronic surveillance or global positioning satellite systems. Complete a residential or non-residential program for substance abuse or mental health treatment, and or D, agree to the imposition of graduated sanctions as defined by law. 9, make restitution as ordered by the court. This is just bad. This is bad. Mark says it's not the first PO to have an entertainer as a client. It can work. It will absolutely be difficult. Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare, to be honest. Man. F-Bombs isn't here, said, just dropped in to wish y'all a great day. Happy Halloween and free thug. Appreciate you stopping by. We also have another super chat in the building. This one is from Davis Bagger Audio LLC with the 5 bomb. Says Fanny and the cops had it wrong on a lot locked up. Fanny and the cops had it wrong on a lot locked up the wrong people. Clean up ATL, but do your job, not guesswork. Love the show. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Ray Riley says 99% will do the time in this case while Thug is out making music. Yeah, and I mean, he might get a good probation officer, and I'm sure they would figure some things out, but still, that's crazy. What else do we have in here? We got Amy in here. Amy acting up this morning. Amy says happy Halloweeny. See, she is on one today. Y'all see this? Loki says hopefully the Congress will do their job and get Fanny removed for misuse of federal funds. Yeah, y'all know Ashley Merchant is out there working on it. Michi says Fanny, in my opinion, is a disgrace. You want Rico over murder? What? Make it make sense. There are families who have lost a loved one, no closure as far as who did it, but she got her Rico. That's sad. I agree 100%. Let me double check one more thing and see and make sure I didn't miss something. Here we go. So I haven't seen an update from Law and Crime yet. Yeah, Ashley Merchant is absolutely amazing. And it looks like I haven't seen any updates. So we'll see if court goes live this afternoon, and I will keep y'all updated. If not, y'all know we will be back tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, because we'll still have a lot of things we have to go over. Thank you to everybody who supported, sent in super chats. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to everyone who liked the video as well. We had over 1,100 likes. Oh my gosh. And actually, what I'm going to do, hold on 1 second. Before I get y'all up out of here, we still have 1,400 people in the building. Let me do this. What I'm going to do is, if y'all could do me a favor, as soon as this live stream ends, there we go. You're going to be directed over to Cat Not Williams' YouTube channel. Make sure you go over there, show her some love, tell her ClassE sent you, and make sure you like the video when you go over there too. She's covering some of the things that we may have missed during this trial. She does an amazing job covering the YSL content as well. So I'll be back here tomorrow. Make sure y'all subscribe and hit the notification too, so you don't miss any time that we drop a new video or that we go live. All right. Appreciate y'all. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And you know what to do. Keep growing, keep pushing, keep it classy. We gone. Peace.